Welcome back to MRT. Today we're going to be talking about ATC. ATC is one of the foundational skills in this program. We're going to be talking about how when something happens to you, it's your thoughts about that event that drive your emotions and reactions or your consequences. So let's take a look at this model together. So ATC is going to build self-awareness. With ATC, you're going to learn how to pay really close attention to your heat-of-the-moment thoughts. What pops into your head the moment an adversity or situation occurs. And by paying really close attention to those heat-of-the-moment thoughts, we're going to help you to build your self-awareness, the competency of self-awareness. All right, and the whole goal of this skill, of ATC, is for you to be able to identify those heat-of-the-moment thoughts, because we know that when there's a trigger, an adversity, or even something positive happens, people who are aware of their heat-of-the-moment thoughts and the emotions and the reactions those thoughts drive to, those folks have more control. And a big part of resilience is being in control of your emotions and your reactions. So that's where we're going with this, all right? All right, so what we're going to talk about now is the ATC model, and this was developed by a psychologist named Dr. Albert Ellis. So there are three parts to our model. The first is an activating event. That's a trigger, something observable that happened to you. Okay, and what this model says is when there's an activating event or a trigger, T's or thoughts pop into our head. The heat of the moment that activating event occurs, we think about it. We think about why it happened or what might happen next, but we have thoughts about that activating event. And what the model says is that it's our thoughts about the activating event that drive our consequences, our emotions, and our reactions. That's the model, that something happens, we have thoughts about that thing, and it's our thoughts that drive our emotions and reactions. So let's take a look at each of the steps for a second. So by activating event, we mean a trigger. It can be something positive or negative. It can be something big or something small. So for example, for me, as I was driving into the training today, a car swerved in front of me. So a car swerving in front of me is an example of an activating event. It triggered some thoughts in me. So let's get some other examples of activating events. Yeah, Sergeant Davis.
Karen, this morning my wife and I had an argument over money.
Arguing over money is an activating event. Let's get some others. Chief Young.
Karen, my stepson got stopped for speeding the other day.
So having your family member be stopped for speeding is an activating event. It's a trigger. Who else has one? All right, Sergeant Castle, what's yours?
Ma'am, I just found out I'm going to be deploying soon.
Okay, so finding out that you're deploying soon is a trigger. It's an activating event. Couple more. Sergeant Royal.
Kevin, a good friend of mine, died in Iraq.
So losing someone that you care about, I mean, that's hard. That's an activating event, losing someone that you care about. All right, these have all been what we could call sort of negative activating events. But activating events or triggers can be positive. So does anyone have an example of something you would say was a trigger? It led to some thoughts in you, but it was more of a positive activating event. Who's got one? Sergeant Quintana.
It's actually my 5th wedding anniversary today.
Oh, congratulations. So your 5th wedding anniversary, or anniversary is a activating event. It probably led to some thoughts in you. Who else? Any others? Sergeant McDonald.
Yes, I found out that I made the promotion list.
Great. So making the promotion list is an activating event. It's a trigger that probably led to some thoughts in you. Perfect. Okay, so that's activating event. And again, keys, your thoughts, are what do you say to yourself in the heat of the moment? As soon as you had the fight, or as soon as you learned about your friend being killed, or as soon as you got word that your son got a speeding ticket, What popped into your head? So please just write down heat of the moment. Heat of the moment. And when we talk about thoughts, we want you to give us your raw, uncensored. We don't want you to pretty it up. We need, if we're building self-awareness, we need you to become really, really good at capturing exactly what you said to yourself in the heat of the moment. So Sergeant Davis, could you tell us, when you and your wife were arguing, what popped into your head?
I thought, damn, I work hard for this money. How come, there's none available for me to have today? I'm going out.
Okay, that's a great example of a heat of the moment thought. I work hard for this money. How come there isn't any money here when I'm about to go out? Heat of the moment thought. All right. So that's our T's. So we got our activating event, the trigger. We got our thought, what we say to ourselves the moment that activating event happens. And then we've got consequences. And you'll notice it says ER, emotions and reactions. Emotions are, what did you feel? Sad, happy, excited, down, angry. What did you feel? And reactions is, what did you do? So by reactions, I mean like, did you leave the room? Did you look down? Body language? What did you physically do? Even your physiology is a reaction. Was your heart pounding? So we're going to, in this model, look at how our activating events lead us to thoughts, and it's those thoughts that drive our emotions and reactions, not the activating event. So it's not what happened to us that causes us to feel what we feel and do what we do. It's how we think about what happens to us. Does that make sense? All right. Let's get a little more complicated. So what we're going to look at now, if you turn your page, we're going to look at something called thought themes. So this chart is a chart of common thoughts and the consequences those thoughts drive to. And we're going to look at the predictable patterns in how people think and how those thoughts lead to very predictable emotions and reactions that we're going to look at. So let me give you an example of what we mean. So if my heat of the moment thought, there's an activating event, if my heat of the moment thought is about loss, and by loss I mean I've lost something that I value or care about. If that's how I would code my heat of the moment thought, then the thought theme of loss will lead to emotion like sadness and reactions in like the withdrawal family. Maybe I'll physically walk away or look down, something in the withdrawal family. So the thought theme of loss leads to the emotion of sadness and reactions in the withdrawal category. Does that make sense? All right, let's do another one. So if my heat of the moment thought is about danger, if I would code, I listened to what I was saying in the heat of the moment, and if I would code that as it's about danger, and by danger I mean something bad might happen or there's a threat. If that's what my thought is about, well, the thought theme of danger is going to lead to the emotion of anxiety or nervousness or fear. And it's going to lead to reactions in the agitation sort of category, like maybe my heart will be pounding or maybe I'll be pacing. So the thought theme of danger leads to emotion of anxiety and reaction of agitation. All right? Let's do another one. If my heat of the moment thought is about trespass, if I listen to what I'm saying to myself in the heat of the moment and I code that as, that's about trespass. I've been harmed. I've been harmed. Well, when your thought theme is I've been harmed, it's trespass, that's going to lead to emotions in the anger category. You're going to feel angry, riled up, ticked off, however you think about it, however you think about the word anger. And it's going to lead to reactions in the aggression. Maybe you'll yell, maybe you'll throw something, maybe you'll stomp away. So the thought theme of trespass leads to the emotion of anger and reaction of aggression. If my heat of the moment thought is about inflicting harm, so my heat of the moment thought is about I've caused inappropriate or unnecessary or unintentional harm. That's what my heat of the moment thought is about. If it's about inflicting harm, well, the thought theme of inflicting harm is going to drive me to experience something in the guilt family in terms of my emotions and something in the apologizing sort of category in terms of reactions. Maybe I'll actually apologize, or maybe I'll try to make it up to that person somehow. But the thought theme of inflicting harm leads to guilt and apologizing. All right, a few more of these. If my heat of the moment thought is about negative comparison, by negative comparison I mean what I'm thinking about has to do with I don't measure up. I'm not as good as others. I don't measure up to others or to standards. If that's what I'm thinking about, I don't measure up to others or to standards, that thought theme of negative comparison is going to lead me to feel embarrassed. And usually when people feel embarrassed, reactions that tend to go with that are hiding. I don't mean crouching down. I don't mean literally. But maybe they stop making eye contact. So they try to get smaller, not to be seen. They feel embarrassed. All right. Let's go on. There's three more. The next one is positive contribution. So if what I'm thinking about in the heat of the moment is I've contributed in a positive way, if that's what my thought is about, I've contributed in a positive way, we call that thought theme positive contribution. And when people are thinking about a positive contribution, that's their thought theme, they tend to feel pride. And their reactions tend to be something like sharing, like they want to talk about the positive contribution they made, or maybe they want to plan for the future. They're sort of motivated, and so their behaviors are of ways to sort of make more good things happen in the future, so they can bring about more positive contribution. So the thought theme of positive contribution leads to pride and sharing or planning future achievements. All right. If my heat of the moment thought is about appreciating what I've received, and by that I mean if I'm thinking about how I've received something that I value, I've gotten it, I've received it, or how if I'm thinking about how I've been helped by others. When my thought theme is about appreciating what I've received, that's going to drive right to the emotion of gratitude. I'm going to feel grateful. And my reactions that go with that are often giving back. I might say thanks or do something nice for the person who did something nice for me, or I might pay it forward. I might think about how can I take this good thing that I received and what can I translate that into to benefit others? So my actions are going to be paying it forward. Last one, positive future. So if my heat of the moment thoughts are about positive future, and that's things can change for the better. If what I'm thinking about is things can change for the better, well, the thought theme of positive future is going to lead to a feeling of hope. If I'm thinking about how things can change for the better, I'm going to feel hope, and that's reactions around energizing or taking action. When I feel hopeful, I tend to feel motivated and ready to take on something new, to take action. So this thought consequence chart helps us to understand why we feel what we feel and do what we do. Our thought themes drive our emotions and reactions. A lot of information. So who's got some questions about this? Sergeant Robinson.
Well, Karen, I've noticed, a really different reaction in some of my soldiers when I tell them, they have the same activating event. Like when I tell them you have to work late for extra duty. Will this, model help us out?
So that's a really interesting question. So Sergeant Robinson said, look, if I tell two different people, you've got to work late, you got extra duty tonight, why don't they respond the exact same way? And this model absolutely explains that. Because what the ATC model says, it's not the activating event that's causing your emotions and reactions, it's what that causes your emotions and reactions. Your thoughts. And so let's say one of the soldiers, Sergeant Robinson, gets angry. You can see that he's a little miffed, he's a little frustrated. He's angry that you told him he's got to do some extra duty. What's the thought theme? Trespass. So maybe his heat of the moment thought is, I got stuff I got to do tonight, He shouldn't have picked me. He should have picked someone else. I got stuff I wanted to do tonight. So that's a trespass thought theme, and that's going to cause him to feel angry. But maybe another person, another soldier that you say has got extra duty, ends up, let's say, feeling some pride. You could see, that he or she reacts with a little sense of pride. What thought theme is running through that person's mind?
That he could contribute in a positive way.
Okay, so positive contribution. So maybe the heat of the moment thought is, hey, look, he picked me because he knows I'm the right guy to get that job done. So the thought theme of positive contribution leads to the emotion of pride and maybe some sharing or planning a future achievement. Great. So the thought consequence chart, to Sergeant Robinson's point, helps us to understand why when the exact same activating event happens to two different people, they don't respond in the same way. Good. Any other questions about all of this ATC stuff? Who's got another question? Sergeant Russell.
How does ATC help me stay more resilient?
Well, that's a $64,000 question right there. How does ATC help you to stay more resilient? Well, it helps you to stay more resilient because we can't control all of the stuff that happens to us. We can't control all of the activating events that occur in our lives. It'd be great if we could, but we can't. What we can control is our thoughts. We can make sure that the way we're thinking about the positive and negative triggers in our life, that we're thinking about those things in a way that leads to emotions and reactions that are productive, that help us to achieve what we want to achieve. And so the ATC model helps us understand our thoughts and to think about, is the way you're viewing this, are your thoughts setting you up for success or are they undercutting you? ATC. Great.